All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and this is Fight Week with Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach on March 1st. Have some new details about that fight and what could be taking place for Gervonta Davis next if he's able to beat Lamont Roach this Saturday. And it includes both Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and we are talking about the biggest name in boxing, Gervonta Tank Davis, who will be having a fight coming up on March 1st in New York City at the Barclays Center against Lamont Roach. Has got a really great undercard that's going to be taking place this weekend. I am definitely buying that fight myself. I'm taking a new approach, just for people in the channel to know. I am taking a new approach to pay-per-views. I'm not going to buy all of them because of the drama that took place over there with Turki Al-Sheikh, Arthur Beterbiev, Dimitri Bivol, and that fixed fight that took place over there. So I'd heard some things going into that fight, and so I boycotted it and I didn't buy it. But this weekend, I am absolutely looking forward to spending my money on that fight for the PBC. Now, as far as the fight itself, I think it's going to be a good fight. I got Gervonta Davis winning it. I wouldn't say obviously, but in a really good technical fight. My understanding is that Gervonta Davis respects the skill set of Lamont Roach, and they know each other, and he's a highly skilled fighter. Lamont Roach is obviously a big underdog, moving up in weight and all that, but we love it. The information that I'm most interested in, though, and it may be, obviously a little bit premature because the fight between Gervonta and Roach has not taken place yet, but it's the plans coming forward for Gervonta after that. So if he's able to get past this fight with Lamont Roach, then my understanding is that they are going to actively pursue fights with Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis, that they want to unify that division and that he wants to beat these dudes that are talking all of this smack. Because of the fact of the matter is, Gervonta Davis is going to make a bunch of money no matter who he fights. And because his fights always sell, and he's backed by the biggest business in the world, which is Jeff Bezos and Amazon Prime. Now, in order for these fights to be made, I said it before, I'm going to say it again, those fights, in order to be made, have to be made on Amazon Prime. So, as far as Keyshawn goes, the Keyshawn issue is going to be around where Bob Arum winds up. If Bob Arum is going to stay at ESPN, which I think is going to be the case, my understanding is that they'd allow, at least from Matt from Brunch Boxing, says that ESPN is going to extend the contract of Top Rank, but they're going to extend it with a lower budget, which means you're probably going to have fewer showcase fights, and maybe they're just going to focus on putting in the big fights. But that budget for Keyshawn Davis, Gervonta Davis isn't going to Top Rank either. So, I mean, he's not going to Top Rank. He's not going to ESPN. He's definitely not going to go to the Zone. So, as far as the Keyshawn Davis fight, the issue is going to be whether or not Keyshawn is going to, Bob Arum is going to be willing to put him at risk that early in his career. Bob Arum's tactic usually, though, is to develop fighters slowly. And Keyshawn Davis, who still has less than 15 fights, he may want to say, nah, let's keep him away from Gervonta. Let's move him up into 140 pounds. Let him get really comfortable at 140 and maybe eventually get to 140 so that he can peak up there. So that's really the biggest barrier, I think, to the Keyshawn Davis fight. But the Shakur Stevenson fight, I think, is just flat out ready to go. The only issue with the Shakur Stevenson fight is that, just currently he happens to be in bed with a bunch of snakes. So, you're going to have to get the snakes out the bed in order to make that deal pop off. That's just a fact. All of the stuff that took place on that fight card with Shakur Stevenson and the replacement for Kid Schofield on the undercard of Arthur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol, there was just too many things going on in there that make you know that, hey, man, you can't go to Saudi Arabia. And honestly, man, I think it's tough to even fight on a Turkey Al-Sheik's card in the United States the way he's running around spending money. But to see a guy who is from the sports authority jump up and tell his favorite fighter, the guy that he's backing, probably financially backing, that you're 2 points down on the card in the middle of the fight, is something that Gervonta Davis and anybody else that goes fight on a Turkey Al-Sheikh card has to be very, very aware of and have to be very, very worried about. And unless you're going to go over there and fight somebody like, say, Shakur did, where you got this British guy who was an electrician, just jumped off a roof to jump on a plane and come and fight Shakur, where there's so much gap between the two people, where Shakur really didn't have to worry about that guy being able to beat him, that's the type of guy you fight on a card with, like Turkey Al-Sheikh's. That's the guy you fight over there, because you're so good that you can overcome any games that are being played by the people around you. But if you're going to fight somebody that you're on par with, you need to absolutely positively fight somewhere in a neutral setting. And that is going to have to be probably in New York City or in Vegas for Gervonta and Shakur. But my understanding is that they are actively pushing for these fights, that they are pushing against the narrative that has been spread. And I believe the narrative has been spread by Turkey Al-Sheikh, by the Boxing Writers Association of America, to tear this guy down, to tear his fights down. So these guys, my understanding is they say, okay, we'll take a step towards them. We'll make the fights that you guys want to see. Gervonta's going to beat Keyshawn. Gervonta's going to beat Shakur, and watch what happens. They're going to try to get a fight with Keyshawn, and Keyshawn's not going to want the fight. They're going to try to make a fight with Shakur, and Shakur's probably not going to want the fight. Now, you also have the promoters that may not want the fight because they want to get more cash out of the guy that Gervonta Davis eventually beats. And they're going to try to wait around for Gervonta Davis to look weak in a fight. So then they can jump on it after he looks like maybe he slipped a little bit. Maybe his training was off. Maybe he's not focused on more. Let's wait him out a couple fights and see if he makes a slip in his personal life. See, maybe, who knows, man? Maybe he can go run sometime down the street. He'll turn his ankle, tear an ACL or something, and his legs won't be the same anymore. So therefore, we can fight him after that happens. I'm telling you, man, there's just a lot of drama going on in the boxing world, man, with people being shifty around this money. However, at the end of the day, I think the fights are going to take place. And I know for sure that Gervonta Davis and the PBC are pushing to get these guys to make these fights. The only issue really is that they're not going to go to Saudi Arabia to do it. They're not going to go on the zone that nobody has to do it. And my understanding is even the fight with Beterbiev and Bivol that they said was so great, nobody saw that fight. So it's like, how great is a fight truly if nobody watches it? And it's a fight that nobody's watching, buried on a network that nobody has, and you're fixing fights on a buried network that nobody has. Nah, man. I don't think people are going to be too free and willing just to do what you want. Anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.